Cars much more than fins and chrome. Can a stock IROC Camaro really beat an IROC race car? And when is any car too old to spend money on? Answers next, so come drive with us.
Motorweek '89, television's automotive magazine, with your host, John Davis.
Hello and welcome again to Motorweek '89. We're glad to have you with us. Ever since they entered the car market in 1949, Saab has built some of the most unconventional looking products on wheels. That's partially because Saab wanted their cars to be as functionally aerodynamic as their airplanes. But the Swedish car builder has since learned that function is not the quality that's always highest on a car buyer's list. Take the Saab 9000 Turbo. Some people, it seems, don't like the looks of its functional hatchback. So Saab's given in to them by designing a conventional-looking 9000, the 9000 CD.
Despite its CD designation, the Saab comes with neither a compact disc nor a certificate of deposit. And while this four-door may, in fact, be a conventional design, Saab is not touting that. CD means Corps Diplomatique, a name that smacks of snobbery in Europe, where the car was first introduced. For Americans, that translates to flagship model, which means expensive. Base price is $31,995, but the only options are metallic colors, this highly reflective black paint, and a 4-speed automatic transmission. We tried both manual and automatic CDs. The latter is EPA rated at 19 city, 26 highway. Ours covered 26 miles for every gallon. The EPA also rates the Saab 9000 CD as a large car. The 105.2-inch wheelbase that it shares with the Saab 9000S doesn't show that, but the interior does. There's more room in here than in some full-sized American sedans. There's even legroom left in the rear when the front seats are pushed all the way back. As for the seats themselves, leather upholstery is standard. The cushions are big and not as firm as in some German cars. Support is very good in all but the upper seatback sides. Both front seats are heated and 8-way power adjustable. There's a manual adjustment for the driver lumbar support. Thrilled as we are with all the room inside, we think it's time Saab spruced up the 9000's dash. While ergonomically superior, its functional fighter plane look is a bit dreary. One of our staff said it made the otherwise luxurious interior look more like a setting from an Edgar Allan Poe story. European versions of the CD get walnut veneer on the dash. It would brighten things here, too. Gauges are analog, sporting yellow-orange needles on clear black faces. The steering wheel contains a driver's side airbag as standard, although our early production model didn't have it. Elsewhere on the dash, Saab's digital electronic display center covers trip computer functions and doubles as a voltmeter. The standard climate control system, as on past 9000s, doesn't have an off button and needs to be reset every time you restart the car. And an 80-watt Saab Clarion stereo, complete with anti-theft circuitry, works in concert with a 7-band graphic equalizer. Other CD standard features include adjustable seatbelt attachment points and an emergency tensioner system for crash protection, central locking with a built-in anti-theft alarm, and a power sliding sunroof. So on the inside, the CD is very similar to the 9000 Turbo, but things change at the back end. The CD has 8 inches more length at the rear, and of course, a trunk. Overall trunk volume is down. It measures 24.3 for the hatchback Turbo, 18.1 for the CD. Still, we suspect there's more usable room here, and who could want more? But there is more. A fold-down panel in the back seat that lets you haul skis. Up front, the CD differs little from the 9000 Turbo. It uses the same 4-cylinder 16-valve turbo engine to drive the front wheels. While there have been a few detail changes in this 2-liter over the years, horsepower remains at 160. At idle, the engine is quiet and well behaved, but it begins to get boomy as the revs build, a characteristic of most four-cylinders. But the CD is playing in a price league where a smoother, quieter V6 is called for. But we won't complain about power. The CD zips from 0 to 60 in a very quiet 7.6 seconds. The quarter mile takes an amazing short 15.9 seconds, ending at 87 miles per hour. We did notice a fair amount of torque steer in our acceleration runs and very firm shifts from the 4-speed overdrive automatic. All Saab 9000 models now have anti-lock brakes. The CD uses them well, taking only 118 feet of pavement on average to stop from 60 miles per hour. Stops have a reassuring feel despite a bit of nosedive. Pedal pulsation with the ABS comes on early and continues violently until the stop, leaving no doubt about whether the system is working. Agile handling was a trait we loved on the 9000 Turbo, and it has changed little in the CD. Even when the car is pushed hard enough to raise its inside rear wheel off the ground, the rear end immediately trails the front. The CD feel overall is one of security, but there's still enough dexterity here to entertain demanding drivers. But it's the demanding rider that Saab is more concerned with than the CD. That's why the car gets narrower, taller tires, 195/65 15s compared to the 205/55s on the Turbo. Recalibrated shocks and anti-sway bars also help improve the ride. It should be smooth enough to please passengers who are put off by the firmer suspensions of some other European sedans. In our safety check, the Saab passes on all 3 counts, with 3-point rear seat belts, front passive restraints, and ABS brakes. But we were most impressed with the Saab's roomy interior and excellent seats. We also liked its high level of standard equipment and excellent acceleration. But the CD missed the mark with its dreary dash, unsympathetic climate control system, and boomy 4-cylinder engine. The noise didn't bother us when the 9000 was billed as a sports sedan, but it doesn't fit the CD's more luxurious image. For comparison, the Volvo 760 GLE cost a few thousand more than the Saab, has less interior room and lazier handling. What the Volvo does have is a smooth, quiet V6 engine. A Lincoln Continental Signature Series costs slightly less than the Saab, has nearly as much usable room, a softer ride, and a standard V6 engine. It lacks only the Saab's acceleration. All in all, the 4-door with a trunk 9000 CD is a fitting car to top Saab's range. It maintains Saab's reputation for engineering excellence, yet also appeals to more mainstream styling and luxury taste. We suspect that Saab's marketing judgment is indeed correct, and the CD will be the most desirable 9000 yet.
In the complete book of Porsche, even the author admits that there is no way for a single book to be truly complete. Nevertheless, Chris Poole's 320-pager starts with history, covers virtually every Porsche model, and ends with a frank discussion of Porsche's current financial woes and future plans. If not truly complete, it indeed comes close. Unfortunately, Pat Goss has never written a book, but he does give complete answers to car questions. Here he is. Pat?
A car, for most people, John, is the second largest purchase they make. So automotive economics is an important issue. Here's a letter on the subject. From Paul Sharp of Modesto, California. I have a 1973 Chevrolet El Camino. I would like to know when it becomes uneconomical to continue owning an older car. I hope there is a standard to measure by so that I might make a decision. Well, I don't know of any standard, but I can give you some very good advice. What you do is you take the car to a good mechanic, and you have that mechanic do a complete diagnostic workup. They might even use a chart or a diagram like we have here, and they will check all of the different mechanical things on the vehicle to tell you what you need right now and what you're apt to need in the very near future. This gives you a good idea as to how much money you may have to spend on the car in the next year or so. Now, while the mechanic is doing this, you want to make sure that they check the general condition of the body of the car. We're looking for rust holes like this, not only on the outside of the car, but especially up underneath the car, because rust underneath the car, if it's in the frame or the unibody constructed portions of the vehicle, anything like that may well mean that the car isn't worth repairing. So have the mechanic check that very closely. Look in the inaccessible spots under the car for signs of structural rust. The last thing, of course, is, are you happy with the car? If you aren't happy with the car, it doesn't make any sense to try to keep it any longer. Okay, our second letter. This is from Judith Hughes of Middletown, Ohio. I have a '79 Pontiac Le Mans with a V6 engine and 142,000 miles. My oil light comes on when I turn the car on, and the engine makes a clanking noise. What is the most feasible way to get my car running again? My mechanic suggests I replace the engine with a straight 6 or a V8. Would you give me some suggestions? I sure would. And they definitely don't include putting a straight 6 in place of the V6 that came with it. Now, these cars, these General Motors Intermediates that came on the scene, they're like this one. They started in 1978. They are very popular cars, but they never had an inline 6 in them. They always had V6s or V8s. Now, it doesn't make sense to try to put either a V8 or an inline 6 in, because in either case you have to do major modifications to the vehicle. You have to replace the exhaust system. You may have to replace the radiator and all sorts of different things like this, motor mounts, and sometimes even the front springs in the car. Not really a practical way to go. What is practical is to replace the engine with exactly what is in it now. That means to put a V6 in it. And you have basically 3 options there. The first one is what we have right here. This is a factory new short block, but this isn't what I would recommend on a car that old, because it can cost in excess of $3,000 by the time you get it installed. It's a lot of money. The second option that you have is what we're showing here on this chart. We're talking about a factory rebuilt engine. Now, this can cost anywhere from $1,850 to $2,025 by the time you get it installed with the parts and the labor and everything. This has the advantage of having a good warranty, many times as much as 2 years. Okay, but here's something that can really save some money, and if you do it wisely, it's a very good option, and that is a used engine from an automotive recycler, or a wrecking yard, as some people refer to them. Now, here we can see by the time we buy the engine and we get it installed, we're down to anywhere from $1,450 to $1,650. The big thing is to make sure that you're dealing with a reputable wrecking yard and that they give you a written warranty. If you do this, this is probably a very good alternative for the older car. And if you have a question about the engine in your car or any other part of it, I'd like to hear from you. If I select your letter to be answered, I'll send you a Motorweek t-shirt. The address is Motorweek, Owings Mills, Maryland, 21117. That's Motorweek, Owings Mills, Maryland, 21117.
Everyone has heard of Chevrolet's IROC Camaro. And if you follow racing, you know that IROC stands for International Race of Champions, a series that features Camaro-bodied cars. Chevrolet updated the stock IROC for this year, so we thought we'd take a quick look at one. We also figured it'd be fun to see how it stacks up against the race car that inspires its name.
Here they are, Chevrolet Stock IROC Z, an International Race of Champions IROC race car, ready for a showdown at Pocono International Raceway. But first, a little background is in order. Here's Jay Signori, president of the International Race of Champions.
IROC started in 1974, basically with a Porsche program, which didn't go over very well with the drivers and, of course, the United States sponsors. So we came up with the idea to go talk to Chevrolet.
The current Chevrolet-based IROC race car is very much like a Winston Cup stock car. It has a sturdy tube frame rather than a production unibody.
The roof skin, the front windshield, the rear bumper skin, and the door skins are actually Chevrolet pieces.
But there's much more to the IROC-Chevrolet relationship than just parts.
We've had a tremendous amount of help through the years from Chevrolet in technical input. I guess our latest input, I would say, would be coming from the wind tunnel data that we received.
And Chevrolet gets a thing or two out of the bargain. John Heinrichsey, engineering manager for the Camaro and the Corvette, explains.
We've gotten an awful lot of image building on the Chevrolet products because of the amount of television coverage that we get from the series. So we feel like our involvement has been very beneficial to us.
For our face-off, we selected a freshly prepared veteran of the 88 IROC race series and an 89 IROC Z 5-liter 5-speed. This production IROC has a new low-restriction exhaust system that helps boost power to 230 horses. The race car doesn't have much of an exhaust system at all, and it sounds great. Inside, the race car is all business. And ladies, heels and dresses are a fashion mistake for getting in and out. But anything goes in the cushy, cloth-covered stock interior. Straight-line acceleration was our biggest surprise. Even though the Chevrolet-based IROC race engine makes 470 horsepower and the production car about half as much, the production IROC beat the race car away from the starting line. But that lead didn't last. 0 to 60 took 4.5 seconds for the race car and 5.9 for the production car. Quarter mile time, 12.1 compared to 13.9 for the stock IROC. And top speed for the race car is 185 or more, about 140 for the production version. On the handling course, lack of familiarity kept us from really pushing the race car, but we learned enough to know we wouldn't want to drive this IROC in traffic. The steering is heavy, the engine hammers endlessly at your ears, and the brakes don't work until you get them good and hot. But the racing IROC gave us the best kick in the pants we've had in a long time. The stock IROC is not near as exciting, but strangely enough, the race car made us appreciate the street car more. Sure, the IROC Z runs in the race car's mirror, but that's not a bad place for any car to be. And what's more, the IROC Z will take you to the grocery store when it's finished at the racetrack. Who could ask for more?
Our car of the week is a 1960 Fiat Abarth. It belongs to Judith Turk of Long Beach, California. If you have a special car like this, we'll consider it for Car of the Week. Send a good color photo along with a self-addressed envelope to Motorweek, Owings Mills, Maryland, 21117. The photographs you send don't all make it on the air, but we like to pass them around the office. Speaking of which, Lisa Barrow's in her cubicle waiting with the latest motor news. Lisa.
Thanks, John. Almost a year ago, we showed you some early photos of a future Lincoln Town Car. And did we ever get calls and letters? Most people didn't want the Town Car to change. It will change for 1990, but not enough, Ford thinks, to alienate current customers. Recently shown by Ford at the Chicago Auto Show, this is what the Town Car will look like when it debuts in the fall. It still has that boxy look, and note the traditional grab-type door handles. There's also lots of chrome. While the new Town Car uses the same basic front-engine rear-drive chassis as before, interior room will increase somewhat. Ride should also improve. The rear suspension is independent and has air springs with automatic ride control. Other improvements include four-wheel anti-skid brakes and variable assist power steering. As for the engine, it was rumored the 90 Town Car would have Ford's new modular 4.6-liter V8. That won't happen. The car will have to make do with the current 5-liter. The 4.6 will be ready, however, for 1991. That 225 horsepower motor should please the traditionalist and futurist alike. In other news, the U.S. Treasury Department has clarified its ruling on the 25% tariff for imported multipurpose vehicles. It was originally thought the tariff would apply to all imported multipurpose vehicles. Now the tariff will apply only to two-door sport utility vehicles and cargo vans. It will not apply to four-door vehicles or vans equipped for passenger use. That means a two-door Mitsubishi Montero or Dodge Raider, for example, is subject to the 25% tariff, but the four-door version of the same vehicle is not. Four-door sport utility vehicles, along with passenger vans, such as the Mazda MPV, will be subject to the usual 2.5% tariff, the same rate that applies to imported cars. According to a story in the trade journal Automotive News, the cost of the tariff to consumers will depend on the make and model of vehicle. Suzuki, for example, says there will be no major price increase since most of its vehicles are already imported as trucks. Other manufacturers, however, may pass the full cost on to consumers. Generally, the Japanese manufacturers are expected to react to the new ruling by importing a larger number of four-door vehicles. According to a report in Autoweek magazine, sales of Chevrolet's $50,000 Corvette ZR1 could be delayed until fall because of problems with the engine. The ZR1, originally scheduled to appear in showrooms by June, has been afflicted with high underhood temperatures, improper emission levels, and engine oil leaks. There's no official word from Chevrolet as to whether the 180-mile-per-hour, 385-horsepower Corvette will arrive in time. John?
Thanks, Lisa. Craig Singhas learned to drive with the class of '74. License in hand, he's driven all over the high road, this time to a place where the other drivers graduated 20 years before.
One of the major trends of the 1980s is America's fascination with the 1950s. This is especially true among car buffs. So we've come to one of America's largest 1950s parties to find out why.
Well, it's Saturday night and I just got paid. All about my money, don't try to save. My heart say go, go. Have time for Saturday night. Now I'm feeling fine. I'm gonna rock it out. I'm gonna rip it out. I'm gonna shake it out. Gonna ball it up. I'm gonna rock it out. And ball tonight.
The innocence, the life was easier, and it was just more fun. We danced, jitterbug, bop. You know, he throws me around the room like a rag doll. Sometimes I fall, I get up, I don't care. It's wonderful.
Thousands are hopelessly lost in the 50s each year, at weekend parties like this one just across the river from the Big Apple. Terry Cook's the man whose time warp of an idea brings beatniks and greasers together again over and over, even though for some, simpler times have never left.
Transmission number 8 coming up. We rock and roll. You know, you can see all our guys are here. We get to what we cruise every week. We're out on the road. You know, if you cruise, you don't cruise, you lose. You know, and if you're not there, you're a square. Well, what can I say? And that's what it's all about. Get your heart out, James Dean.
For those who come to these Back to the 50s parties, it's a lot more than just simple nostalgia.
It makes me feel like 18 years old when I get behind that wheel. No money can buy that. I feel 18, 19 when I drive this car. And I believe me, no money can buy that. Well, this is my girlfriend, Barbara. And she's always been with me, and that's what these games are all about. And I like Barbara. What else can I say? These are some pair of legs. 50s is the 50s. You just can't take it away. I love the 50s, and that's it. 50s is 50s. It'll never be an era. That's right. It'll never be again.
We, on the other hand, will be again. Next time, Lisa Barrow will have an FYI report on European delivery. Craig Singhas will look at presidential limousines, and Pat Goss will answer questions about engine vacuum. I'm John Davis. See you then.
If you would like a transcript of this program, send $4 to Motorweek Transcripts, Owings Mills, Maryland, 21117. Residents of Maryland at 20-cent sales tax. Ask for show number 823. Motor Week is a production of Maryland Public Television.